Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isaac David Sines, and I am the operator of Pro Football Chase. Some of you may have just started to follow my page, and some of you maybe have been following me for 4 to 5 years, because that's just how long I've been rolling with this page. From a very young age, I wanted to do sports reporting, more specific towards the NFL, which is what led me to start this page in the first place. And back at the time when I first got this Pro Football Chase page running, which was formerly NFL Chase, but I went ahead and changed it just so I can avoid any copyright infringement with the league. You know how that stuff goes. So I went ahead and aired on the safe side and went ahead and changed it. But nonetheless, a little bit about me. I just graduated with my bachelor's degree from an accredited 4-year university. So I am 22. I've gone Instagram Live and I've gone Facebook Live with a couple of you all the last couple of weeks. I just launched the Chase podcast. You see the banner behind me. That's one thing that I'm really trying to build from the ground up. It's something that I had a vision for, getting NFL players on to chat football. And in the very near future, I plan to bring on some of y'all who want to come chat some football. You know, you want to discuss a particular matchup. Maybe you're a Falcons fan. Maybe you're an Eagles fan. Whatever the case may be, that's something I'm going to look to do in the very near future. I want to let the regular season get underway first, and then I'll start taking calls. If you want to join me, share your thoughts. Maybe a big trade happens, a free agent goes to a specific team. There's a lot of developments that goes on in the NFL regular season. So again, I appreciate you following me on my Instagram account. I have a Twitter page at Pro Football Chase, as well as Facebook, same handle, Pro Football Chase. And so the purpose behind these episodes, as far as me starting this YouTube channel, was really another outlet for me to do some video. I did some TV work in college, and I've learned how to interact with people, and I thought it would be a cool twist to add to the Chase podcast and give you some game preview and analysis. And in this case, since this is my first episode, tomorrow night the regular season opener is underway. Atlanta Falcons, Philadelphia Eagles. The defending Super Bowl champions will take on the same team they knocked out of the playoffs in the divisional round last year. So we're going to see how this matchup goes, and I'm going to give some analysis and some predictions. The goal of these videos is just to be 10 to 12 minutes long, give you a good analysis. If you want to watch some video, I want that option for you as well. Obviously, I do post podcasts on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so that is always available. So this is what I want to do, and so I'm going to go ahead and get right into that with these game previews. Just finished talking about it on the podcast, just uploaded that, so go check it out on Podbean. Give me a follow and give me a listen as well. So when I look at these two teams, Nick Foles is going to be the starter for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, Carson Wentz is still working his way back from the torn ACL he had last season. And one thing that is interesting and I guess worth noting is that Foles hasn't looked as sharp in this offense in the preseason. Now, one thing you can be said, and you can refer to this particular point, is that in the preseason, these coaches are not rolling out their full playbooks. I think we all know that. They keep it very vanilla. So while that could maybe be a reason for Nick Foles and this Philadelphia Eagles offense sluggish start, I still think there is cause for some concern as how they've kind of looked a little sluggish. They haven't looked as crisp as they have been, and that's something that I'm sure they're going to get accustomed to. They'll get adapted to. There's always new players inserted in these rosters, and you kind of work your way on from one wave of players to the next. Nelson Aguilar's been nursing a lower body injury. Alshon Jeffrey is out as he continues to recover with a torn labrum. And Matt Collins just got ruled out the other day, who's dealing with a groin injury. So Nick Foles is going to enter tomorrow night's game with Nelson Aguilar, Mike Wallace, who's a free agent acquisition, who we all know, the guy's a burner. You know, he's always a threat that the opposing defensive secondary is going to have to take him into account when he's going on a deep route or whatever the case may be. And then you also have at tight end. You're going to figure they're going to use Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz a pretty, significant amount as far as getting them lined up and making Nick Foles comfortable early, especially in the game against an Atlanta pass rush that is very underrated. Dan Quinn, one thing that he has, taken pride of and made a key emphasis for this Atlanta team is bringing on Vic Beasley a couple years ago, who they're going to move him to defensive end full-time, and then Takk McKinley, their former first-round pick out of UCLA. The guy's got a quick jump off the edge. I really do think a big year is in store for him. Now, he doesn't get mentioned a lot of times, similar to a lot of the other younger pass rushers like the Joey Bosa and a couple of other those names, Leonard Floyd. But like I said, I think he's in for a big season. I think he's going to be utilized a lot in particular pass rushing situations. And this is an Atlanta linebacking unit that is very athletic. Devondre Campbell, Deion Jones, and Duke Riley. Those three linebackers can run sideline to sideline. And when I look at their matchup against these two tight ends in Ertz and Goddard, I think Atlanta has a pretty nice advantage as far as accommodating what they can do. And Nick Foles, you better believe he's going to look to them early and often, trying to get that comfort level, trying to get that rhythm, because he has not had that in the preseason. Now, one thing that it's worth noting is Jordan Hicks is returning from injury for this Eagles defense. And so I think he's going to bring another element to a Philadelphia defense. He missed most of last season. Of course, it didn't stop Philadelphia from winning the Super Bowl, and that's a credit to Howie Roseman from consistently having depth at every position on that roster. And now having him back, they're going to have Nathan Jerry, who's a guy that's transitioning from safety. He played at Nebraska. He'll now be playing linebacker, and he too presents that same hybrid type linebacker that can drop back in coverage fairly easily, and it can also play the run. And so I think he's going to bring a nice complement to Jordan Hicks in the center of that Eagles defense. Now, one thing that I will say when it comes to these two matchups, the Falcons and the Eagles, it's going to come down to which unit can win in the trenches. The Philadelphia offensive line, we all know they have a couple of perennial All-Pros and Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Jason Peters. They're getting him back from injury as well. Brandon Brooks plugged in there at the right guard position, and then Stefan Wisniewski at the left guard position. So I look for Philadelphia to get that run game established at the very early portion of tomorrow night's game. This Atlanta defense, a lot of people look at them, and you look at those linebackers, you look at Vic Beasley, these hybrid type players that aren't necessarily big as far as height and weight. And so a lot of people think you can run on this Atlanta Falcons defense, but in fact, they finished in the top 10 last year for stuffing the run. And not only that, but they also do a good job of securing the outsides and making sure that they're not going to get outflanked by the opposing running backs. And so I think that's another thing to keep in mind when these two match up. Now, as for Atlanta's offense, they have Julio Jones, who's their clear go-to target, Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley, who's their first-round pick, and then Austin Hooper at the tight end position. And I'm interested. I've heard a lot about Steve Sarkisian coming out and talking about the different wrinkles that he's incorporated into this offense, and just exactly what that's going to look like, we will soon find out. But it's safe to say that last year, this Falcons offense was a little bit up and down as far as their production. When you have a backfield that has Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman, you're expecting to have a rushing attack that's in the top 5. However, Atlanta finished 13th a season ago. They are returning 4 of the 5 offensive linemen from last year. Brandon Fusco is their starting right guard and a free agent acquisition from the San Francisco 49ers. Dan Quinn has been pleased with the type of work he's put in throughout the offseason to learn the offense. And so I look for this Atlanta offense, especially where if they're really going to move Julio Jones around in that offense, look for Calvin Ridley to have some opportunities to potentially, put up a nice stat line against a Philadelphia secondary that is still trying to get things together. This Philly secondary finished 26th in defending the pass last year. They did go ahead and got Sidney Jones healthy after redshirting that year. He's going to play that nickel corner. They have Ronald Darby, as we know, and then Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod back there. So this is a unit that does have playmakers, but I still think Atlanta, the talent they have, the explosive athletes they have outside, I think that's a matchup that Matt Ryan, if he has time to throw against this, fierce pass rush that Philadelphia is going to have coming at him, that now includes Michael Bennett, and then Derek Barnett, the former first-round pick, and Chris Long, the veteran who is still proven that he's got a lot left to offer for this Philly pass rush. And it's really going to come down to how this Philadelphia offense can function. And with that being said, I feel like Atlanta, I think they're going to enter this game with that bitter taste in their mouth, knowing that this is the same team that knocked them out of the playoffs. They're going to come in laser focused under Dan Quinn. This is a team that has already watched a lot of tape on this Eagles RPO offense. Now, are they going to stop it completely? Probably not, because Doug Peterson does a nice job. Now, John DeFilippo, their former quarterbacks coach, is now the offensive coordinator in Minnesota, and Frank Reich, their former offensive coordinator, is now the head coach in Indianapolis. So two of those head coaches who played a pretty significant role in this Eagles offense are now out of Philly, but as long as Peterson is there and he's their primary play caller to oversee this offense, I still think Philly will be able to get some type of offensive efficiency going. However, I don't think there will be enough of it for them to beat the Atlanta Falcons on Thursday night. I feel like this Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, and I think it'll be a play that's made late in the game by the Atlanta Falcons defense that's going to seal this victory for the Atlanta Falcons. In my score prediction for this game, I have Atlanta winning 26-20 over the Philadelphia Eagles, which will set them up nicely at 1-0 while the defending champs drop to 0-1. Again, thanks for your time for this opening episode. Be sure to hit subscribe at the bottom of this page, and I hope you follow along with me as I post these videos every Wednesday and Saturday evening. And on Saturday, I will be previewing the slate of Sunday's games. So stay tuned. This is Isaac Signs. Have a great rest of the evening.